I think we're mostly in Australia on this land today. I'm on Wajak Noongar Budja at the Art Gallery of Western Australia on what were waterways and tributaries that sit underneath this building. And we're sitting together across many lands today. Bunwarang, Karna, Wurundjeri country. Durga is one of the languages of the Yuin Nation, spoken on the New South Wales South Coast and southern tablelands. A few of us here are on Wajak Noongar Budja, Ngambri, and the Muwal, Tangarang, Warrung and Kulin Nations, Kulin Country, Gadigal land. And in shifting and stirring, we always take a moment to really think about what that means to be sitting on unceded lands. I'm an uninvited settler on these lands. And to take a moment to think about how that informs practice, disrupts practice, the histories that are told and untold, and how we sit with them, grapple with them, work with them, ignore them, make them visible in this place at this time, and how that changes over time. Shifting and stirring began during COVID lockdown it was kind of born out of generosity to the sector and as a way to interrupt silos and hierarchies and come together as artists working with participatory practice to think together and practice together, to interrogate ideas, to talk and to play and to listen. And I'm thrilled today to be hosting Sarah Houbolt to spend some time working with us. I first worked with Sarah when I was at Sydney Opera House about 5 years ago. And I'm kind of both thrilled and ashamed to say that that moment for me in working with Sarah was kind of a point in my life where I could see my practice before working with Sarah Houbolt and after working with Sarah Houbolt, because it had such a profound impact on me in terms of how I was able to understand accessibility, advocacy, practice, staying with the trouble, grappling with really complex, difficult to understand ideas. And what I valued most about Sarah's approach was that she was incredibly generous, unbelievably patient with, for me, what seemed like a kind of unforgivable ignorance I came to understand in myself, that really I should have been far more progressed in my own understanding before encountering working with Sarah and her, the ways that she showed me how to see my own practice. And just an incredibly gracious honesty that in ongoing ways has impacted the way that I practice. We had a really interesting experience. We were both at a conference last year in Sydney, and there was a moment during that conference where I was able to practice some of the audio descriptions that I'd learned through working with Sarah. And there was a really interesting moment at that time where somebody in the audience was quite triggered by the choice to audio describe an experience. And again, Sarah was incredibly generous in just holding the space for that moment to be interrogated. So really, without any further ado and without taking any more of Sarah's time, because I want to give us as much opportunity to work with her as possible, I'd like to introduce Sarah Houbolt, who is an internationally acclaimed actor, dancer, and physical theatre performer, who will be working with us today in a participatory way, as we've done in the shifting and stirring sessions. And we'll be moving again in and out of breakout rooms. I just want to check that everyone who's here knows how to pin videos. Can I just see, can you just notify if there's anyone that doesn't know how to do that? If you just go into the top right hand corner Ellis and click on, there are 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner. And if you look, it will say mute my video, stop video, rename, or pin video. And if you just want to have a practice, if you pin the video, it means that you can make a choice about who is the largest face on your screen. And you can also flick between speaker view or gallery view, which is in the top right-hand corner of the whole screen. Great, so I will hand over to the wonderful Sarah Houbolt. Sarah, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lily, and thanks team Shifting and Stirring for inviting me into this online workshop series. It's a real privilege and it's an honor to be running this workshop. It's also a little bit scary, so I'm just acknowledging that because I am legally blind, I'm partially sighted. I'm here on the land of the Jagera people in Brisbane, which is where I grew up, and I came up here because of COVID, because Sydney was a little bit too unsafe for me this year. So I'm here in Queensland, beautiful sunny Queensland, running a digital workshop. Probably more to come. I'm going to run some more digital workshops, but I'm at the beginning of my facilitation journey in the digital space. However, it's kind of a new thing, but it's kind of not, because there's really no difference between me being in front of a computer screen with all the stuff on the screen and me being at someone's table. Yes, I miss the visceral, but I don't have the sight either way. So I'm in some ways at an advantage at the same time running this workshop. So what we're going to do today is we're going to explore what it's like to consider the knowledge base of someone who's blind or partially sighted. And I use the word partially sighted because I don't like the word vision impairment. It's medical model, it's very negative language. So partially sighted is my term. So we're going to explore the perspective of collaborating and facilitating and making space and voice for people like myself and from my community. I'm also going to share a little bit about my arts practice and how that knowledge base is embedded in the work that I do, and what opportunity that opens up for making creative work, whether that's in the community space or the professional space, and how that can be used to really get some virtuosity around the practice and rigor around the practice of access in the arts, but also disability arts as a genre in itself. So I'm really interested in, I'm an access champion, but I'm an artist first and foremost, and I'm bringing that to the discussion today. And what I thought we could do is actually practice it. So what you need to expect from today, and what I invite you to contribute with, is your voice. Because without your voice, you're not present for me. I don't know that you exist. I don't know that you're there. Yes, I've seen a list of attendees. Doesn't mean I was able to read it. Doesn't mean I'm able to know who is in the room right now, who may have come late, who might be still arriving, who was here on time. So if you were here on time, that's good for you, but I didn't know. So what we're going to do first is we're going to spend time on welcome and describing ourselves, saying who we are, what we look like. So describing, audio description is everything, verbalizing everything that is visual. So everything that is visual is what you see in the Zoom screen. It's nothing beyond the Zoom frame. It's not what shoes you're wearing, unless you're really showing your shoes in the frame of the Zoom. So that's an important element of audio description. It's exactly what you are seeing today. So we're going to go around the whole Zoom room, and I don't know how many people have actually entered the room right now, but I know that 40 or so people registered. So everyone's going to have a chance to contribute in terms of saying your name, audio describing yourself, and also I have a question for you. I have a question about collaboration, Because the other element to my story, my facilitation style, my making of work, and what you can take going forward in terms of working with artists with disability is really investigating what collaboration with us actually means. What does that really, really mean, collaboration? What do you hold dear to you in terms of collaboration? So that's the first exercise we're going to do. Then, as I said, I'm going to talk about our arts practice. We're going to go into breakout rooms and have a bit more of a practice of audio describing your own movement style. Then we're going to come back into the main room and show anything we want from the breakout room, and then also just ask questions, discuss, probe a little deeper into this practice. So you've got me for 2 hours or just under 2 hours now, so feel free to ask any questions at any time. Protocol-wise, for myself as a facilitator and for the space of disabled facilitators, and I use disabled facilitators as in identity first politics, so I flip between disabled person and person with disability, and that's my choice. So what the protocols are in terms of blindness, for example, is I would encourage you to start practicing saying your name when you speak. And this is in the digital space as well as in the physical space. And that's because I can't really tell who's speaking. In the physical space, it might be like, okay, someone's gone to the toilet, they've come back to the room. I don't know who's come back to the room. In the digital space, you might all be able to see the list in the chat or the participants. I can't see that. So that's one of the protocols that I'm establishing today. The second protocol I'm establishing and encouraging today before we get on to the first exercise is let's think about changing the language. And I bring this forward from some of the shifting and stirring sessions that I've watched that have gone before, and what an amazing series, an amazing contribution it's been from other artists and facilitators. It's been really wonderful. One of the conversations that came up was around the word mute. So what I encourage us to do today is actually actively stop using it, and actually actively, not just talk about how it might not be so great, let's do it. So maybe my offering in that space is maybe let's say something like microphone off, microphone on. Let's turn our microphones off. Let's turn our microphones on, because that's the action that we're actually doing. And the reason why mute, if anyone didn't catch that in the last shifting and stirrings, is because mute has a connotation in the history of disability. So I sit here in Brisbane on Jagera land, but I also sit in the history of disability, where bodies like mine were locked up in institutions, where bodies like mine were arrested for being in public throughout history for being ugly. So that's the history that I want to also acknowledge in this welcome. And that's why we're also doing workshops like this to kind of go, okay, how do we actually be fully inclusive when history has taken inclusion and leadership away from us? So to bring some of that back, to restore the balance to the force, what we're going to do is create a safe space, a welcoming space to start with. And any process begins with this. So I am a white woman. I am partially sighted, which means my audio description of myself will only be the things that I consciously know about myself from my memory or from what other people have told me. Your audio description might be about what you can see. So mine may not be perfect. Someone's entered the room. Hello. Oh, there's another doorbell. So what we're doing for the people who've just entered the room is I'm audio describing myself. I'm going to introduce myself, and then Alex will help us go around the circle. If you feel shy to just jump in, we'll call out a name. Alex will call out a name, and then you can try doing a little bit of audio description. Now, an audio description is around making verbal the visual. So think about what your face looks like. Think about what you can actually see in the frame. So I am a white woman. I appear to be old for some people. I appear to be young for some people. I have sparse hair, very short, light brown, I've been told. I have red glasses on, spectacles. I have blue eyes. I'm wearing a navy blue t-shirt with a cheap gold necklace and gold sleeper earrings. My background in the Zoom frame is a white wall. I've put a white cloth over junk that's in the back of the room. And I think there might be a door frame in this Zoom frame. My idea of collaboration is true partnership. And that's what I hold on to in any collaboration. Part of true partnership when working with someone with disability, like myself, and what I need as an artist collaborator is choice, control, and consent. Now, can I invite someone else to start and say your name? So my name is Sarah Houbolt, say your name, audio describe yourself, and what your idea of collaboration might be. And I acknowledge this exercise might take a while because I'd like to get through to everybody, and that's okay. Who'd like to go next?
My name is Sue Giles. I have turned my microphone on. I am a white woman who is nearly 60. I've got hair that is very short and it's grey streaked with black. I'm wearing glasses at the moment. I have wrinkly skin. I have a big smile and I'm wearing a black scoop-necked top with long sleeves. Behind me I have a green wall with a large rectangular abstract painting in pinks and reds and whites. And the sunlight is streaming in from my right side, which is lighting up the side of my face, very bright contrast. And collaboration for me is respecting time and culture, absorbing and listening, gaining understanding, exchanging and trusting, with the view to working together to create something amazing.
Thank you.
I'm turning my microphone off.
Hi everyone, I'm going to jump in while my child is quiet. My name's May and I'm on Wadjuk, Noongar country. I am a Eurasian female, 34 years old. So short, dark brown hair with a top knot that's kind of messily put together. And in the background, I've got some cane bookshelves and a lot of baby clothes just dumped on top of those bookshelves. I've got a black singlet on and I've got big front teeth with a gap in the middle. Thanks everyone.
Hello everybody. I have turned my mic on. I'm Penelope Bartlow and I am on Gulladjan country in Western Victoria. I am a middle-aged woman like Sue with wrinkles. I have blue eyes and I'm wearing ridiculous glasses that once were sunglasses and are turned into glasses, reading glasses. I have very messy hair that's kind of multicolored accidentally, was dyed kind of red at some stage and now kind of isn't. Behind me there is a grey wall and I am sitting on, you can just see peeking out behind me, a kind of ochre red fake Louis XV couch with like a bit of gold turned wood around where my shoulders are and down to one side, and a fleur-de-lis kind of decoration you can just see on the pattern on the upholstery on the couch. I'm wearing a black shirt and I've got a gold pendant hanging on a piece of elastic around my neck and some pearl drop earrings. And I have fake lipstick on as part of the app through Zoom, which is great. And collaboration for me is listening and understanding that there's no hierarchy of ideas whatsoever. And I shall now turn my audio mic off. Bye.
Hi, my name is Georgia. I'm on Bunwurrung land. My mic is off. I am a 30-something woman with a green top on and green eyes. I am a settler woman who's in a converted garage. So I've got a swing out the back in the background and a milk crate and a pot-bellied stove. My idea of collaboration to me is listening and sharing. And I'm turning my mic off.
Hello, my name is Dan. I'm a 45-year-old woman white woman with a giant bun of shoulder-length hair on top of my head. And the bun part is dark, but the part from my forehead to the bun is very much silver and dark striped. It's quite considerably silver. I'm wearing a black top with tiny white spots, and behind me is 12 squares of shelf full of records and art and craft materials. Oh, and I'm reevaluating and researching and reimagining what collaboration is in this time after feeling like I was a bit complacent. So I'm in a really exciting time for understanding collaboration.
Hello, my name's Carol Wellman Kelly, and I am on an unfamiliar language area, but my home area in Adelaide is the Kaurna people. I'm a 56-year-old white woman with pale skin tone. I've got a longish face and a longish nose. But the main feature of my face is a pair of black cat's eye glasses that have a slight point at the top edge of both sides. I have artificially blonde dyed hair that's going a bit black at the roots, and it comes just below my ears and is pulled back in a orange bandana headscarf. I have a small grey microphone inserted to the side of my left ear, and I have thin lips and large teeth when I smile. I'm wearing a flannel shirt, check shirt in red and green check. The background behind me is the reflection of a number of gum trees and pale sky in the windows in which I'm sitting in front of. And my definition, I suppose, or my ideas around collaboration are active listening, positive contribution, exchange and rigor of thought and action. And hello to everyone, and I'm turning my microphone off.
Hello, Sarah and everybody else. My name is Pablo. I'm on Ngunnawal Ngambri country. I'm a light-skinned male with short brown hair and a short brown/greying beard. I'm wearing a low-necked dark brown t-shirt and big chunky black headphones. You can just notice in the bottom of my frame the top of my bed head, giving away where I am. It's not my office, it's my bedroom. In the background you can see there is a light brown wall with a few bits of art hanging on it, a window with bright light streaming in, and a bookshelf with some books and oddments. My idea of collaboration is, I guess, looking for the joy of common ground and the discomfort of uncommon ground, and playing. And I'm turning my mic off.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Tran. You can call me Jen. I am of an Asian appearance. I have black hair up to my shoulders, but then I have it all tied up into a ponytail. I have dark brown eyes. I have quite a bunny two front teeth, which is quite a feature of my face. I'm wearing a headphone, a black headphone with a red cord. I am wearing a burgundy red patterned shirt with the top two buttons unbuttoned, and I am sitting in front of a white wall in an interior space. What collaboration means to me is to leave ego at the conversation, at the beginning of the conversation, and to listen without judgment with your eyes, ears, hearts, and just the whole body listening. And I'm going to turn my microphone off.
Hello, everyone. I've just turned my microphone on. My name is Afsaneh Torabi, otherwise Afi for short. I am a Middle Eastern woman, 35 years old. I'm wearing a navy beanie and some earphones. Behind me, there is a bright red rug, some big windows, and a couple of house plants. I'm wearing a blue and green long sleeve top, and I've also got just one big front tooth. My idea and enjoyment about collaboration is trusting in one another's strengths and leaning into the unfamiliar and the uncertain and learning from each other. Thank you. I'm going to turn my microphone.
Hello, everyone. I have turned my microphone on. My name is Ellis Hutch, and I'm on Ngambri and Ngunnawal country in Canberra. I'm a white woman. I'm 47 years old. I have wavy grey hair that is just about below my ear length, tucked behind one of my ears. And I'm wearing reading glasses with fairly thin frames, metal frames. I have blue eyes. I'm also wearing a pale blue cotton scarf, which has a kind of rough texture, and a pink long sleeve top, which is a little bit baggy. In my environment around me, behind me, is a very large photograph on the wall that shows sort of pinkish light patterns, pinkish and greenish light patterns. And on the other side of me is my kitchen. You can see a kitchen shelf with various jars and objects and some plants. My idea of collaboration relates to all the things that everyone said so far, which is wonderful. And in addition, thinking about how when people come together to collaborate, something can be created that can't be created by any of those individuals, that everyone involved in the collaboration contributes to something new, which is really exciting. And I will switch my microphone off.
Hi, it's Alex back again. I am in my late 30s. I am wearing a pink and red stripy long sleeve top. I am Caucasian in appearance and have short brown hair, kind of in a bob usually, with a blunt fringe. It's paired half up, half down today, and I'm wearing silver hoop earrings. I'm in a room, a white room with an Indigenous print behind me that's black and white of the stars. And half the frame also shows the white corridor with some doors, frames peeking through. Collaboration for me is a lot at the moment to do with relationships and building relationships that are strong and fierce, and building up that understanding of each other, which takes time to learn and listen. I also like to think about it of brains and bodies colliding, and sparks flying into magic. I am turning my microphone off.
Hi, I've just turned my microphone on. My name is Kat Sewell. I'm just going to pin it so I can see it bigger, what you can see. I am a white woman. I'm 40. I have pale skin that is quite red over lockdown at the moment, blotchy. I have long brown hair with quite a bit of grey coming through. I'm wearing a really old, colourful striped dress that looks like a t-shirt. Behind me, I'm sitting on my bed, and you can see some dark grey pillowcases and just a plain cream wall. And my daughter is now looking at me through the door. I have brown eyes, sometimes green, but mostly brown, and uneven bottom teeth. My idea of collaboration, I just wrote down a word that you had just used, Alex, that I had written down. It's like sharing a spark, and it's like the spark buzzes back and forward between people, and then makes a sparkler. And I'll turn my mic off now.
Can I say hello and take my turn? Sarah, hello, and hello everyone, beautiful colleagues. My name's Sally. I'm a white woman. I was going to say middle-aged. Frankly, I think I'm probably a bit more than middle-aged at the age of 57. My hair is long. It drops down to just past my shoulders. And it often gets caught up in my glasses. I'm wearing my reading glasses at the moment, which are quite small. My daily glasses are much bigger, revealing my blue eyes, but my reading glasses don't. I feel a bit covered up in them, but I need them on the Zoom platform. I'm in a little corner of my home, which is on Kaurna country in Adelaide. And behind me are what I can only describe as tomes. They're big books, dictionaries and anthologies and things like that. But what I also love about the shelves behind me is that I have some toys from when my son was very small. And there's a box that says, that's labelled his 3D makings. So I'm going to look inside later and see what he made when he was little with paper and stuff like that. Collaboration. I think I love collaboration when it's a sharing of multiple perspectives, and yet when you realize them into the thing that you're creating together, you can't quite remember whose idea was whose, because there's an integration of the momentum. I'm switching off my microphone now.
Hello, this is Steph. I am on Wurundjeri country, and I'm just trying to make this, yep. And behind me is just a cream cupboards, so it's pretty plain. I'm 49 and brown skinned, and I have dark hair tied back and a black scarf. And the left side of my face is lit up by the light coming through a glass door on my left. Collaboration, yeah, pretty much similar to what other people have said. The first thing I thought was listening, and also everyone's voices in the room being heard. And then when I was thinking about ideas coming together, I had this image of two tributaries of a river that come together to make the river, and how that can be bumpy along the way, or it can be sometimes calm, sometimes there are rapids, and eventually it flows into the sea. So I'm going to turn my microphone off now.
Hi everyone, Susanna here, and I'm talking from Gadigal land. I have fairly short brown hair and pale skin. At the moment I'm sitting in the garden underneath a lemon tree, and there's a brick wall behind me. I will probably move at some point during this session, but one of the great things about working from home is spending lots of time outside and being able to move around, so I'm loving that. I have blue eyes, and I'm wearing a patterned dress that you can't really see a lot of, and a blue scarf with sort of sparkly bits, silvery bits on it. My idea of collaboration, I have sort of dual response to collaboration. I'm excited by collaboration, and I'm also made nervous by collaboration, and some of the challenges it brings, and some of the collaborations I've had in the past have both excited and challenged me. And I think sparking ideas and sparking different ways of working, as other people have mentioned today, is one of the things that come to mind when I think about collaboration. And I'm turning my microphone off.
Hello everyone, I'm Zoe Barry, and I've just turned my microphone on. I'm a white cisgender woman in my early 40s. I've got pale freckled skin and green eyes and long red wavy hair. I've got a V-neck white t-shirt on today, and behind me is an upright piano, and on the piano is a branch of a tree and a painting of a man, a white man about the same age as me, and a print as well that's black and cream and white. And I'm on Toongaroong country, and I'm facing west, so the sunshine is coming in on my face. And to me at the moment, collaboration is spending time with people, and in that the sharing of time, conversation happens through language and also through sharing visuals or movement. There's many modes of the conversation, and the kind of listening is very careful listening that involves lots of noticing. And through that journey, that process, it's revealed what the collaboration is meant to be in that time with this particular group of people. Now I'm turning my microphone off.
Hi all, turning my microphone on. My name is Frank. I'm in Gadigal country and the Māori Eora Nation. I'm sitting in a room, which is an upstairs room facing north. There's a lamp, a cardboard lamp hanging in the background to the right of my head. I'm an olive-skinned, middle-aged man in the latter half of my 40s. And I have a salt and pepper beard and an expanding forehead. Collaboration for me is, it's lots of things. It's all those things that people have said, and it's when it's happening well. Often it isn't happening well, and so sometimes it's full of fraught with politics and power plays and people vying for places within that conversation, which sometimes is overt and sometimes is not. And sometimes that makes it as wonderful as when it's healthy and happy and wonderful. So yeah, it's kind of, collaboration is lots of things. I love it most when it's healthy and happy and people are sparking off each other, but often I want to acknowledge that it's not. I'm turning my microphone off.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I've just turned my microphone on. I'm on Ghana country. I am white woman with kind of shoulder length hair, which I part on the side. It's brown with lots of kind of grey at the front. Today I'm wearing a dark pink jumper with gold stars on it. In the background I have the kind of signature IKEA shelves that many other people have in their backgrounds at the moment, and it's full of kind of books and notebooks, and on the top I store things like knitting needles and unfinished sewing projects. Over my right shoulder is a red door that leads out to a carport, and a flip chart where I've been taking notes of I think it might have book titles on it, and behind it's leaning against a white bookshelf. And to me, collaboration is, I mean, it's obviously all of the things that people have spoken about, but it's always on the way to a work that wouldn't have been created without that partnership and those people who've come together at that time. And I'm turning my microphone off.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm on Toongaroong country and I'm a white woman. My daughter told me last night I have a large oval face, and my hair is light brown and is pulled back in a ponytail. I'm sitting in front of a bookshelf and a door that goes to an ensuite, which you can almost see, and a very sunny window. I'm wearing a black woolen jumper with a high neck. And collaboration to me is sitting in the unknown with respectful conversation and trust and generosity and noticing and listening. I'm turning my microphone off.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Lily. I'm a brown-skinned 50-year-old queer woman in my office at work with what looks like a plant growing out the side of my head, which is behind me, and a small stack of books. I'm wearing glasses, and I've got quite crooked bottom teeth. I'm wearing a blue button-down shirt with tiny holes in it, and a little brooch painted by artist Philippa Nikolinsky of a kulbadi or magpie. Kulbadi is Noongar language for magpie. It's been beautiful to hear everyone's descriptions of collaboration. For me, it is so many things, and mostly the emergence of places that would not be able to emerge without the particular contributions of the unique individuals and world and time and more than human creatures that are around in those moments of development. I am turning my microphone off.
Hello, I'm Julie Wright. I've just turned my microphone on. I'm a white middle-aged woman in my mid-40s. I'm in my bedroom, which is my office at the moment. So the background is mainly white. You can see a door frame and wardrobe and a small red and green print in the background and frame. I have dark blonde hair, a little bit grey along the part, and it's parted to one side. My fringe is parted to the right side. Green eyes, roundish face with high cheekbones. I'm wearing a black, white, fawny floral print t-shirt, and yeah, I'm sitting facing a window as well, so the light's coming in and hitting my face, but the sun's sort of just going down. Collaboration to me, I've written down a couple of points. I agree with many of the things people have said. Sharing ideas, working respectfully and authentically with all involved in the project, and making theatre together. Thank you. I'll turn my microphone off.
Hi, my name is Anik. I've just turned my microphone on. I'm on Wurundjeri country. I'm a young Black woman in my 30s. I have dark afro hair, you could say, and I've plaited it in 4 parts, and I'm wearing a colourful bandana around it, like a scarf. I have hearing aids. I wear hearing aids, one on both of my ears. I have a round face, and I wear cream sort of beige glasses. I'm in my bedroom. Behind me is my cream wall. Absolutely nothing on it. It's just a cream wall. I am wearing a dark woolen jumper, but I'm also wearing my blanket because I'm very cold. That's about it really, but my idea of collaboration, a lot what everyone else has said, but I do believe in like deep listening and understanding people's stories and where they've come from, and I think that is key to sharing ideas and developing, yeah, a lot of things actually, so yeah, definitely key. But yeah, that's it. Turning my microphone off.
Hello. Hi. My name's Tully Maikon. I'm on Darugland on the outskirts of Sydney. So I'm a white man. I have a shaved head, a medium length brown beard. I'm wearing headphones, and I'm wearing a very bright yellow t-shirt. I have blue eyes. My background is my studio, which is an old office. So it's a pretty beige background with fluorescent light in the ceiling. And to me, collaboration is really about amplifying each other's voices. And I think through that, uncovering elements of those voices that we might not be aware of ourselves. Yeah, microphone off.
Hi everyone, I'm turning my microphone on. My name's Shannon. I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri country, currently in Melbourne in lockdown. I have pale skin, I have red hair that's kind of now just nearly touching my ears with quite long sideburns. I've been told I look a little bit like a beetle at the moment with this hairstyle. I'm wearing a navy blue hoodie jumper. Behind me is a blank beige wall with 2 floating bookshelves. There's a pile of beige coloured pillows off to one side to my right, and a window to my right as well. Some grey and orange pillows to my right. I'm coming to you from my bedroom, and to my left you might be able to see a little black and white long-haired cat that will pop in and out of screen from time to time. Collaboration to me means working together to create something that I could never dream of doing on my own. I'm going to turn my microphone off.
Tess and Heidi, are you the last people left?
I don't know. I can go next.
Okay.
My name is Tess. I'm Caucasian. I have long blondie brown hair that's up in a ponytail, side ponytail. They, my fringe swept to my right. I have green eyes, flushed reddy cheeks. I'm wearing a V-neck black summer dress. It's very warm in Adelaide. Oh, I'm living on Kaurna land in Adelaide. In the background, I'm in my studio. There's a beige wall, but I have lots of different objects against the wall. I have lots of indoor plants, very large lamp, large bags. There's a dress mannequin, a painting, a bookshelf. There's lots of various objects in my studio. My idea of collaboration is authentic and respectful exchange to create, and that which benefits many. And I'm going to switch off my microphone.
My microphone is on. Woman Jika. My name is Heidi. I'm on Bundalang land. I'm a white woman. I have a short grey silver pixie cut, and I have red glasses. I have red lipstick on, I love lipstick, and I'm wearing headphones. I'm sitting in my lounge in a black shirt with a silver necklace. I have a green background and a stripy, colourful pillow. To me, collaboration is authentic interactions, listening and bracketing out so that I can be a better listener. Thank you for turning off the microphone.
Thomas, are you there?
Yeah, hi, sorry. I was waiting for you all to finish your introductions. I was really curious to what you were all saying. Actually, I just wanted to join this workshop to connect with Sarah and also maybe people out there. So I am blind, completely blind, totally blind. So I'm a researcher, activist, educator, so we're starting an organization to bring people with all abilities together to start a movement towards inclusion. And that's why actually I'm here. And the reason why actually I was waiting for everybody to finish is also because I wanted to hear the descriptions. As a blind person, what dominates me when I describe about myself is not the visual. So if I tell you about myself right now, I would be saying I am from Asian background, so whatever that visually might mean to you. But if I describe myself, I'm not going to be describing myself visually because that's not my world. So I'm somebody with Asian background based in Belgium. I'm in my early 30s. And the only feature that you might need to know, I'm quite small. I can fit between 2 raindrops. And I look pretty handsome and I feel pretty handsome too. So that's more importantly. So as far as the collaboration kind of thing is concerned, and as you might hear, what is really prominent about me, and when I'm talking about these things, I'm pretty excited, pretty emoted about these things because they are important to be made aware of. And as far as the collaboration idea is concerned, since it comes from my background and which is related to, I suppose, to this workshop, collaboration, I think, especially in the field of art today, for political reasons, for political correctness, we want to include people with so-called disabilities so that we want to appear inclusive, but often, it's not just enough to include any disabled person in your performance or practice to appear inclusive. It's important to have the right people with the right attitude, with the right understanding, who has the ability to collaborate with you at equal position. And I think at the moment, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of disabled people like that, who can collaborate with you equally. I think that's a process that we will have to nurture have to develop. And I think that's why these kind of workshops are important to include people like Sarah, so that kind of generation of disabled people need to be nurtured to develop so that we can collaborate equally. Otherwise, we might just take a disabled person, and then just take whatever they think as inclusion, which is not often the best way to go about it. So I think, it's important to nurture dialogue, help people to develop their voice, their strength, but don't take at first glance, just for the political correctness to have somebody with disability as inclusive. So important to have right people with right understanding. Okay, thanks. Putting my mic off.
Sarah, I think that's everyone.
Amazing, thank you. That was wonderful and so heartwarming to hear that people know, the basics of describing themselves visually. I want to respond to a couple of things. Firstly, Thomas, I'm very excited that you're here, and let's keep in touch afterwards. And I'll come back to what you said, Thomas, because I think it's really important, and I want to end with that. But I want to, the funniest thing for me in listening to everybody's descriptions was hearing people say that their microphone was turned on when we could already hear their voice. So we already know that your microphone is turned on. That was funny. I just had to say that. It's just, it's a lighthearted observation. It's not a criticism, but I'm just observing. What I observed when you said you were turning your microphone off was that was a wonderful opportunity for everyone to know that you were finished. And so it gave a few seconds for people to be to jump in. And so we didn't have that awkward kind of let's wait for ages to see who's going next. So that was an example, in my opinion, of a protocol that's good for people who can't see the screen, or facial expressions, or kind of ooh, that energy of oh, I want to go next, or I'm about to reach to switch on my microphone. That's visual stuff. That protocol allows us all to be on the same sort of plane. The other thing that I heard was a lot about sharing ideas and in terms of collaboration. So thank you. Actually, all of the audio description was great. The collaboration and that equality of sharing and listening. Yes, there are a handful of professional artists with disability in Australia, and globally there's more and more of us, and we're learning how to really jump into the space and collaborate with others, and we've done a lot of legwork in order to get there, as Thomas alluded to. And it's taken a long time because we've had to do a lot of work to get to that point of being in the door to collaborate with and knowing what we want to do in that collaboration artistically as well as process-wise. One of the things that I invite everyone to help us with is to realize that still collaboration can't happen if the basic access isn't there. So if, for example, there was someone who used an Auslan interpreter, and the Auslan interpreter isn't in the room, there's going to be less listening and sharing because it's actually simply not as possible, for example. If you're in a space, an environment where there's too much sound, too much noise, too much light, and someone has sensory processing differences, that listening and sharing is harder. So there are elements to collaboration that actually involve everyone taking note of access. That's my access champion hat off. So now putting my artist hat on, I wanted to tell you a bit about, I wanted to follow on from Thomas's conversation around visual description. And I loved that input because one of the things about audio description is that it is innately ableist. It is innately assuming that we want to know about the visual world and assuming that the visual world takes priority. And that's not necessarily the case. We might want to contribute a description of the world in another way, in a sonic way, in a visceral way, in a personality way, in a relationship way. So in terms of creating art, yes, absolutely. For me though, when I'm in a collaboration as an artist and I feel unsafe in the room, what audio description does for me is it's like a breath what breath might do for you. It's a moment of calm, it's a moment of regrouping, it's a moment of regrounding, and it's a moment of safety. So audio description becomes not just an access tool, but it becomes a tool for safety and safe space. That's primarily for me, because I don't always feel safe in spaces. So that's kind of why I like practicing it as well. As an artist, I'm conscious that we're almost sort of halfway through. I'm keeping an eye on the time. So I'd like to describe my practice a little bit, and then I'd like to go to a break, and then I'd like to go to a breakout room so we can also continue this practice of using blindness as a tool for creating. So my practice is all about working out how I can bring my body into my creative space with others and in the making process and product. So what I did recently was I created a dance work, and this is, I think, one of the reasons why Lily invited me into this workshop, is because I made a dance work for Tempo Dance Festival in June. I got a creative response grant from AUSCO, Australian Council for the Arts, with the COVID response that they did. And I made a film, and that film meant that I needed to collaborate with the film camera operator, the editor, the sound person, the lighting person. And so any of my collaborations, I need to establish what my practice framework is in terms of making the work. And for this particular work, I wanted to embed audio description into it, but in a really poetic way and according to my body. And so because I am partially sighted, I wanted to make it in a way that reflected the hooks and the needs and the poetry and the language that came out from my body as I was dancing, and also needing that description for the research to create the dance film in itself. I was researching Matisse, and I needed someone to describe the work to me before I even could start a collaborative process. So the verbal description comes into the research, the development, the post-production. At every stage, I kind of draw on it. And while we're comfortable describing our faces, we're not always comfortable describing other things at all times. So it's getting that response in and kind of going, that's comfortable and normal, cool, let's keep doing that when we're working with people, if that's what they want. So what I did was I played around in this dance film with how description could be used creatively, so that it isn't just a plain, this is the visual, so that it could be a practice between a conversation between the sound, the music, and the words. And for a partially sighted person, then also the bright color and the framing and the enlargement of the frame and the slow motion of the video, so that there's a little bit more time to clock what's happening visually if you can see a little bit. So I was taking my experience of my body and putting that into my work. And it became quite a large conversation for my collaborators. I don't want to swear on this Zoom like podcast, but it became a big deal for them in terms of really getting into my skin and understanding why I was making the choices I was making. And that takes time. It takes time for that deep listening. And it takes time for that real sharing, especially in film when it's such a quick kind of medium, you know. So I stop and I take the time, which is what we just did with sort of going around the room. We just take the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I also thank Lily for just encouraging me to just take time and breathe in this workshop, you know. So in my film practice, I want to embed audio descriptions, but I also want to embed sounds. So just like I was saying before about the microphone, saying that the microphone is switched on, but we could hear that. What else can we hear in a dance film that tells us about where the dancer might be in space? Or what kind of movement is it? Is it slow and long movement, and does that replicate the muscularity? But then how do we use a word? And this is where we draw on that framework of audio description. How do we use a word to connect that muscularity with the tone that, or the music that is delivered, so that someone who can't see it knows that it might be parallel? And is that important, or is that not important? It's important for someone who doesn't trust art. It's not important for someone who is okay with the not knowing everything. So there's all these little nuances within blind culture and audio description and sonic enhancement and sonic truth and audio enhancement and all these new fancy words to kind of say, hey, let's create something that is multisensory. So I wanted to play with that. In a second, we're going to have a 5-minute break, and then we'll kind of come back and I'll start explaining actually the breakout room task now so that you can think about it over your break. And then we might go straight into the breakout rooms after the break and you can try. So what I would like to do in the breakout rooms is everyone see how, in my mind, this is how I think it should work, but you do what you want in your breakout rooms in terms of taking the exercise and making it your own. So it's a 15-minute long breakout room. There's going to be a handful of you. So in my mind, the exercise would look something like 5 minutes of thinking about an improvised movement. So you might choose as a group to step away from your computer screen and be in your space and move around and improvise your movement. And then I'd like you to add an element of blind access into that, or blind imagination into that. That could be the audio describing of what you're doing. I'm twisting my wrist in a circular motion. My little pinky is leading the movement. Or it could be that you want to create a bit of sound and word texture to it. So the movement could be, shh, I'm twisting my wrist. It could be something that has tonal pace, and it could be slow, it could be fast. You might want to play with something that's non-visual, but still gives a, that's sort of verbal, but not necessarily describing the visual. So it gives a performance in itself. So that's what we're doing in the breakout room. So I'd spend about 5 minutes on that, and then maybe 5 minutes kind of showing it to the rest of your people in the breakout room, and then maybe 5 minutes discussing. That's a crude breakup of your time, but up to you. So 15 minutes of a breakout, really exploring a movement of your own, and it could be 1 minute or so of movement, and how you would bring that idea of access for the blind and partially sighted, or that idea of multisensory, or however you want to conceive of this, that idea of combining the verbal, the visual, and the sound and movement together. Does that make sense? If anyone has any questions, stay on while we're having a break and ask me, but otherwise, shall we go for a 5-minute break?
That sounds great. Yes, that sounds great.
Great.
Thanks,
And honestly, hey, awesome. And honestly, interrupt at any time because, yeah, because I'm verbal and moral. All right, let's have a break.
Shannon.
Thank you.
They are all here.
Okay, amazing. I hope you had fun in your breakout rooms. Welcome back to the main room. I am conscious that we've got about half an hour left of this session, and I'd really love to hear how you went in your breakout rooms, and if you have any thoughts or reflections you'd like to share with everybody else. And then I would like to invite us all to step into the world of using Zoom with voice only, so switching our videos off for the rest of the session, unless, I just want to check in with access requirements, unless anyone is lip reading and is relying on lip reading, and then we won't do that. So that's the one thing. If you don't want to say that out loud, but you want to put that in the chat, or if you want to directly say that that's not okay, that it won't work for you, then let me know. But first, I'd love to hear how you went in your breakout rooms. Does anyone want to offer sort of a summary of how it went?
If I may be a spokesperson for our group, it's Penelope, the one with the ridiculous glasses that are from sunglasses into reading glasses. we changed our names to food movers, and we weren't quite sure whether we were supposed to create something or not. So we've endeavored to create an extremely short improvisation which we could present to the group if the group would be
yeah. If you'd like to, I'd love that. No pressure from any of the other groups if you've got nothing or if you don't want to perform anything, but if this group is offering, then yeah, do it.
It's going to be stunning.
I'm excited by your contributions.
And our request is that if everyone could please put their videos off so that you, and just apart from the food movers.
Cool.
And I'll hand over to our CEO of the group, wherever she is.
You're still on mute, Kat.
Wow.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, so it's Kat here, and that's a start now that I have turned my microphone on. All right, food movers, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Head and shoulders in the frame. I dip my head. I tip my head. Left, right, left, right. Slowly moving forward. Eyes, eyes, eyes. Eyebrows up, eyebrows down, frown. Shiver up the spine and back to head and shoulders. The end. I will turn my microphone off.
That's amazing.
Nice one.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's wonderful. Should we hear from other groups? I don't know if I should reflect on everything, but I thought it was really wonderfully descriptive, so thank you. Should we hear from other groups?
Sarah, it's Sue here. Our group had just the most interesting collection of practice, and that in itself was such a great inspiration to hear everybody's the way that they were coming into the task. And there was surprising connection in all of our cracking joints. And the way that our bodies were feeling, anything from the stiffness of a neck after breastfeeding a new child for hours, to old age, to sitting for too long, to the cracking of every tiny joint as we listen to ourselves in isolation. So I found that very interesting, that there was a real, and also the idea of using the screen as a kind of like a windscreen and being able to move our bodies across it to wipe it clean almost, and the sounds that came from that. So very kind of visceral experience. Does anyone else from my group want to add anything to that? I'm going off mic now.
That's amazing. There are sounds that come from within the body, sounds that are made by the body, sounds that are outside of a space, inside of a space. There's so much sonically you can draw on to create a sense of the world and people within it. That is a wonderful commonality. I'd love a little music soundtrack one day from that one. That would be awesome. One of the things that I learned from working with the Blind Theatre Company in the UK, Extant Theatre, is that the use of the body sounds is particularly useful to describe what's going on a stage for somebody. When you are in a straight narrative theatre piece and you're wanting to walk across the stage or move across the stage, the sound of the footsteps will tell somebody who is not using their vision where the character has gone in space, or the sound of delivering your line will tell somebody, if you're making a conscious choice with blocking for theatre, if you're actually consciously choosing to talk while you are moving from one space to another space, you're also giving that access information as to where the bodies are moving in space. So it's one of those things to be aware of how we can use our voice and movement and the sounds of the body together. How did other groups go? Also, if you don't want to share, that's all good as well. No more groups to share?
I'd like to share. It's Sally here. My group, it was a real pleasure. In my group was Tully, Pablo, Julie, and Thomas. And we had the instant feedback and privilege of Thomas's responses. And I wanted to share the main thing that I took on board from him was the idea of the whole collaborative exercise in which the artist and the describer are working together, and that if the artist can nominate the qualitative or textural or emotional essence of the work, then the description, is well on its way. And I think I tackled it initially in just a quite abstract way, but obviously, as with any theatre, if there's a layer of meaning, however simple, then it's already well on its way. So thanks for that, Thomas. And there were many other beautiful nuggets that Thomas shared as we played around with the idea.
I can imagine. That's a really, really good point. I have the same feeling. I agree with Thomas. I think that if there is art that's being created, it's very helpful if the describer understands the choreographic intent or the artistic intent and the reasons and why the choices were made, because otherwise describers are left in this limbo and kind of it becomes this very objective, kind of stale guesswork from an able-bodied person, so I also agree with that. I think it really gives it texture when you know a bit more about what the artist is doing. Absolutely. I also think with audio description, we don't acknowledge blind consultants enough and the voices of the blind and partially sighted community who have helped inform the describer's choices as well. So what I would advocate going forward too is that when we are creating work with audio describers or using audio description in our work, that we always credit the consultants that we spoke to check in about what that does for blind and partially sighted audience and other performers. So that's the other element to the puzzle, I think.
Sally going off mic.
Kat, did you want to say something? Your mic is off.
Sorry, I was just trying to work out how to do it. So it's Kat speaking again. Sorry, it just reminded me of, I don't know if anyone has seen or been described some of the Auslan interpreters at music festivals. And I've just seen some amazing videos and just thinking about the quality of emoting that can happen with different, with a really good sign language person, at a rock gig, and how different that is than, at the side of a political speech. I'm just wondering if it's that same difference of quality. It reminded me of that in any case. I'll turn my mic off.
That's a good question. I often relate what the deaf community has done exceptionally well is to ensure that we all understand that Auslan is a language and that it comes from a very rich culture of deafness that has been created by and for deaf and hard of hearing people. So when someone uses Auslan for show or for entertainment before access, then the deaf community are like, they have something to say, you know. So I often equate audio description in the same way, in that I believe, this is my personal and professional belief, and not everyone may agree with me within the blind community, but my belief is that they're very similar, and that I think as the blind community needs to come together and really kind of go, actually, we need to take back audio description as our language, and be in partnership with its creation rather than it being done to us or for us. We really need it. The language is evolving framework of how we describe the visual world. We need to do with us, because as Thomas was saying earlier on, you know, we might not necessarily want to describe always the visual, or there might be other elements that we prioritize or deprioritize, or language is so vast and so many choices that building that framework needs to be with us. So I think that's what I take from your analogy there, in terms of how those differences are created. But also I think there is flavor in what you're suggesting, is the flavor and the artistry as well that can come in audio description. So I actually created a little framework for myself. I was going to leave it to the end, but I'm going to show it now. I was like, oh my gosh, what is my actual creative practice when it comes to blind culture and making work? So I created this little acronym called VOICE. I've got it on a piece of paper. I have no idea if it's actually in the screen, but I presume that I'm in the screen, my head's in the screen, and you can see my paper. But
Hey, Sarah.
I'm going to say it anyway. Yeah.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Is anybody else having that problem? I think the mic is a little bit, I'm not quite sure where your mic is, but when the paper was next to you, it just became hard to hear you. We don't want to miss any of your words.
Okay, well, I'm not sure. Maybe I've just got a really crappy computer, to be honest. The mic is on and I'm near it. So I will.
You're okay now.
Thank you. So I won't bother showing this piece of paper, but I'm going to describe it to you, because that's probably getting in the way. So I created an acronym, VOICE, VOICE, and the first V is for verbally articulating. So if you want to work with me as an artist, we are going to have a time where verbal description is part of the process. It's just a given. O is for observing detail. So when you work with me as an artist, or when I'm creating work, I will probably be one of the most detailed people in the room, because my mind is imagining and creating what your eyes might be seeing. So often blind people observe, it is a generalization, I know, but for me at least, I find myself observing more than sighted people, because I'm always imagining what's around and trying to work out and putting those puzzles together. So observing detail, that will always be in my creative process. I include the visceral. So I'm also of that mindset that it's not just about describing the visual, but how do we create work with hyper proximity, with touch, with sound description? Are there other ways that we can be creating work to create the sense of feeling and visceral and the space between bodies? So that's a large part of my exploration. C is for create, and in brackets I've got poetry, because that's what I'm interested in using language to do, and descriptive language is to create some kind of poetic response that also embeds access. And E for the voice, the E in voice, everything matters, because it does. Everything matters in terms of access and in terms of creativity, because as soon as that slips, I'm not in the room and I'm not in control of my project or my creative contribution, or I'm not in a safe space. And everything matters in terms for me of, if I'm creating a film, I try to put captions on it, for example, because my community matters. So E is for everything matters, and you can't shift the gaze. So that's kind of my creative sort of framework. remember why I was saying that now. I think it's just because how I play with audio description and trying to work out, well, how was that poetic for me in my work? I'm not sure if we've heard from all of the groups. Is there others who would like to share what you may have discussed or explored?
Hi, this is Afi, the Middle Eastern with the blue beanie on. I'll share a little bit from my group. Hopefully there'll be somebody else from the group to elaborate. Actually, it's kind of related to what Kat was saying in her analogy with Auslan. Our group got, it seems, very experimental and had a lot of questions. It was very interrogative, and like, what happens when and if, but does that mean that blah, blah, blah. And we tried a lot of things out, and we experimented with, you know, we had questions around the subjectivity of audio description. You know, what do we choose to describe, and also how do we choose to describe it? Like, does the intonation and quality and mood of our voice inform, and like you say, does it actually help, you know, the person who that information is for understand, or, you know, is it creative embellishment, you know? They were, I don't know if we had time to make a lot of, we made a lot of discoveries, I feel, but, you know, I guess none of them were like conclusions, like, you know, yeah.
That sounds like an incredibly rich conversation, which is awesome. I'd encourage you to keep investigating and playing and keep exploring, and also to bring blind and partially sighted artists into your processes so that you've got that dialogue and partnership open to really nut out some of those things, because they are extremely fascinating and intriguing to explore. In terms of subjectivity and in terms of a consensus around the framework of audio description, that's where the community hasn't, we're fledgling in that space, and so there's a lot of work for us to do to communicate what we might like and reach that consensus within the community in order to push a clear message out. But also there may never be a clear message because it is language and it is art. So some of the rules are about being objective, but actually another rule is about being seamless, is about actually, can you make a piece of work, if you want to put access in it and description and sound and other ways of creating a visceral experience for somebody, or multi-sensory experience, can you create it so that you don't actually even notice that the audio description is there? Can it be so seamless within the characters, within the building of the world? Can it be part of a script, if we're talking about a theatre piece here, that it's just so neatly written in that it just becomes part of the story, or an element, a creative element? So that's another goal to sort of reach. Subjectivity is an interesting one because to make it seamless and to make it fit in, it becomes a lot more subjective then, and character driven, or plot driven, or world driven, than pure objective audio description. So that's a massive one up for debate within the community. So it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I've been nodding a lot, like the
Yeah.
whole time we've been
Yeah.
talking. But
Yeah.
it's also really reassuring to know that there is consultancy as well from that community, so that, you know, all those decisions don't lie with us, because that feedback to what it is that people are actually experiencing is become, like, we've just learned, is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the pure objectivity within audio description, I'm finding, comes from when you don't know what a work is and you don't know whether to trust the interpretations, then the objective nature gives you a sense of trust. And the objective nature is also something pushed forward by purist audio describers who are geeking out on the language and kind of going, yes, this is And it's also about choice and control. So it's also about giving choice and control for interpretation to the blind and partially sighted person. So there are so many different reasons for choosing objectivity and then also for choosing subjectivity. So always be clear of your purpose and your reason.
It's great, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah, if I can just jump in a little.
Please do,
Thomas again.
What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Tell me.
No, a lot of those things I agree, but I think I want to take up on the idea of objectivity, you know, objective description. Actually, that is so much problematic in the sense, because a lot of, you know, I work with a lot of, I'm not an artist, you know, but I collaborate with artists about these areas. So often the objective descriptions end up describing the piece completely different from what the piece is all about. So you might see people crying, the sighted audience, but the blind audience end up wondering, why are they crying? What is the reason? So the idea of objectivity in audio description is pretty kind of traditional, because you can't be objective. That's the whole idea. If you're being objective, really, you know, you're just going to present all the platforms at the same emotional level. The objectivity is not, I think, I don't think, you know, that's something we should be thinking about. Objectivity in that sense that how objective is in representing the idea, the meaning, the emotion, you know, that the piece is trying to convey. A lot of, and again, that comes into, you know, why certain pieces requires actually objective description, you know, that represents the tonal, you know, the meaning of the piece. If you're giving a speech, you don't want to be, you know, if somebody's shouting and screaming, you don't want to give an audio description that is, you know, calm and quiet, relax, you know, completely they are completely contradictory to each other. So, you know, the tones of description has to be representative of the meaning of the piece. So I think that's one of the reasons why I said to our group earlier, you know, it's important to talk to the artists, because artists knows best, you know, what they are really trying to convey to the audience. But the other thing that I think we should always keep in mind is about what is the visual. Visual is it's only a source so that they can emote you through the medium of sight. With the sound, it's the same thing for us. We want to be emoted through the medium of sound. There's not much difference between the two. Visual is just a channel to emote, to reach to your heart. Audio is also a channel to reach to your heart. So ultimately what matters is not really the sensory medium, but the meaning particular sensory medium conveys to you about the message of the piece. So I think that's why, you know, it varies across pieces, how you should represent. If it's a comedy piece and if you are talking about it very seriously, sadly, giving a description, I mean, completely, you know, opposite to the heart of the piece. So I think those are the things that need to be kept in mind. Visual is just a medium to reach to your heart, just like audio is a visual medium. Ultimately, it's about reaching your heart. And the other thing I think Sarah would agree, which I would think people will have to really be aware of, is also the difference between when you describe these things for a completely blind person versus a partially sighted person, because partially sighted person often requires visual amplification. They would require a lot of visual descriptions versus person like me who's completely blind. Visual description is pretty useless to me. So you have to, you know, balance those two when you are describing whether it's for a sighted person, visually, you know, partially sighted or blind person. So all those elements needs to be taken into account.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you, and I love the layer of depth in these conversations that you can only have with another blind or partially sighted person. You know, yes, completely love it. It's time to finish. I want to thank everyone for contributing and really taking time to think about what our world might be like and what you could maybe take forward to make safe spaces in the work that you do and accessible spaces in the work that you do. And to try, I mean, my provocation to you is to try actually just identifying what information comes from what sense in your body every day, and maybe for 5 minutes every day try describing what you see, because that could be one little beginning point. Take into account all of the framework stuff that we've been sort of exploring in these last 2 hours, but just really looking at how you can maybe deepen your knowledge of what we offer in the world. I'll probably be taking a few more Zoom. Maybe I'll get hooked to this Zoom communicating. I don't know. I might do another Zoom on this one day. I'll let you all know. I think Alex and Lily might want to talk to you more about the next shifting and stirring. But I've really valued, I'm sorry it feels so short actually, but I value everyone's time on this one. So thank you so much, everybody.
Sarah, thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful as always. It's always such a privilege to work with you, and I'm always struck by the depth and rigor of the interrogation that happens as a result of your provocations. And I will hand over to Alex just to give some information about the next shifting and stirring. But firstly and most importantly, just enormous thanks to you, Sarah, for your generosity in sharing your time and ideas and thinkings with all of us.
Thank you.
Can we all please unmute and give a round of applause to Sarah to say thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's time. Sorry, this is Afi again. If for very quick questions for you, Sarah. Is there a more kind of considerate way if you were going to contact somebody that is partially sighted or blind, because we usually in these days communicate via email and through the written word? How do you contact someone who is blind? Are there programs to read this? Yeah, if you could.
Okay, like I want to work with you. Okay, full stop. So thank you for that thinking. And that shows me that you're actively thinking and listening and stuff. So that's great. I have made a rule for myself, and I'm not shy of this forceful boundary, that I don't work with anyone who can't send me a voice message, a voice text message, because it shows me then that you can verbally articulate something, which is my V in voice. Can someone verbally articulate to me? Can you send me a text message in voice? Do you know how to do that? And then I can collaborate with you. So that's kind of like a side answer to your question. But the longer answer is that make it text-based or voice-based, because people use screen readers or screen magnifiers. So have a think about different ways, and don't try just one way, try a couple of ways, because sometimes there is oversight and sometimes people prefer different things. So I alternate between WhatsApp for messages, because you can use voice and length of voice messages there, or a text message and use your voice recorder on your phone to then send it into a text message, or if you've got iMessage, use a voice message or Facebook Messenger or whatever. That's the way I collaborate with people. Some people are really savvy and tech savvy with their screen readers. They just love a good old email, you know. Can't speak for everybody, but if you want to work with me, it's a voice message.
I might just jump in there because we just have gone a few minutes over.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's totally fine. We were going to do breakout groups, but actually I think maybe some people might want to stick around. And Sarah, if you want to ask a few more, would you be up for answering a few more?
That's fine.
People want to ask them?
Absolutely.
Great. Cool. So we might do that. So anybody who needs to go feel like it has finished. I've just put in the messaging there that our next session is on Thursday, the 19th of November, supported by Carclu, with Tanya Vogues and Alison Peavy, about dancing in virtual spaces. Thank you all for coming, because Shifting and Stirring is a community of people participating, and we all learn from each other. So thanks for all the brains and attending today. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
See you.
So lovely to see you all. Thanks, Sarah.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alex.
Hi,
Thank
actually,
you.
sorry.
Thank you, Thomas.
Sarah?
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, Tom,
I was just wondering, I don't know if there's a way to get in touch, or shifting guys, can you put us in touch? That'll be nice.
Yes, I'll make sure that
I can. Yes. So Alex will put Sarah and Thomas in touch, and Sarah and Afi in touch as well.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah.
So good. Thank you.
Awesome. This is how stuff gets made.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to connect with you, Sarah, this is Afi again, for a really long time through your swimming practice, actually. Yeah, because anyway,
We'll
I
talk.
discovered your work a little while ago, and I'm a big fan. So yeah, good on you. Thanks again for today, and goodbye all.
Thank you.
See you, Afi.
See you, Afi. Bye.
Bye, Afi.
Hi, Sarah. It's Carol again.
Oh, Carol, thanks for your
Thank you.
description at the very start before we started. That was so lovely.
Oh, that's my pleasure. I was just so enjoying being in this environment. I just wanted to share it with everyone. But also, I felt very, like you were saying, Alex, it felt very unfriendly to not be able to communicate freely at the beginning. And we're, you know, with respect, we were all, you know, with our microphones off. But normally we would be chatting. And while we've been in this COVID time, I've been teaching dance through the Zoom platform, and it's been more about connecting with people than it was about whether they were technically doing the dance well or not, or even if they were participating. So it really is about, and sometimes we'd all talk over the top of each other, and we'd have to sort of put some, you know, hand raising, raise a hand in your brick. Someone called it, your screen was your brick. If you wanted to say something, because it got very frustrating for everyone. But one of the things that I wanted to just reflect on just at the end there is that I work for Access to Arts in Adelaide with Jodie Houbolt.
Cool.
And one of the things that happens a lot between us is a misinterpretation of my emails, or my perhaps the tone of what I've written. So your suggestion to ask what is the best method of communicating for with someone, and also trying the voice text message, because it's really clear what is meant. If I can say it myself, because it's, I just didn't think why we were getting this miscommunication happening so often. And it's just because the intonation of what you say in written word can be misinterpreted so easily.
And can I tell you that the intonation of a very fast screen reader will always sound anxious? Just FYI, like, so the screen readers have made these new and better voices, like more realistic voices. But what's happened is that over these years, they've become less like Siri, you know, and more like human voices. And then we want to read it really fast, and they're freaking anxious. They're anxious.
That's good. It's interesting. That's a really great insight.
The thing about having microphones off for people and not jumping in on this particular session is that there's time and place for both methods. So for me, I wanted to clearly hear everybody and also model a practice of, there are some people in the disability community who need less noise interference. So switching the microphone off and having one person speak at a time is an access requirement sometimes for particular people, say someone with a brain injury, for example, or with sensory processing differences, or to just make it a little bit of a quieter space. So that was the respect I was giving today. But when I'm in my free-for-all, like Zoom parties with blind and partially sighted people, we are totally talking all over each other. Absolutely. There's time and place for things.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. I found this a particularly exciting session today, because I have been working to really start to build audio description for dance and physical theatre and circus lately.
Yeah, great.
And it's the whole notion of what is important to describe is really important to really flesh out. And you're right about the focus being on what is going to give the greatest sense of meaning or intention. What is the intention of the work? But I still find that I use my own understanding of dance and choreography, because that's my background, to kind of interpret a little bit. So it's possibly using my own practice
I think that's
to greatest effect, maybe. I don't know.
I would prefer audio describers who know a little bit about dance when they describe dance, because I think that's really important. It helps, as Thomas was saying, also it's knowing what the intent is and stuff, but I still check in case there's assumptions made and whatever. But I think it helps if you know the arts practice. I like the combination of knowledge bases.
Yes, okay.
And the third element of the blind consultation, you know.